Oh boy. As a matter of fact, let me screenshot. I'm going to screenshot what I just saw. It's almost fully ratioed. Do you see that? It's only a 2K difference. It's about to get fully ratioed. They should have listened to the fans. Another IP not listening to the fans. From what I understand, one of the first rules of business is give the people what they want. For 10 years or more, they haven't been doing that. And they have been reaping. They haven't really been reaping anything. Okay? They're reaping very little. You know what I'm saying? They're losing billions. The entire entertainment industry, from comic books to video games to TV shows to movies and everything in between. They don't pay attention. So it is what it is. Check this video out. Sure, it'll be funny.
nerdrotic.com.
Greetings, you over 1 million filthy mudbloods and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet. I don't think I'm going out on a limb here by saying the Harry Potter backlash has gone nuclear. Too soon? Anyway, over the past week, something incredible has happened. And no, it's not just Saturday Night Live making a skit that was actually...
Speaking of nuclear, with all the conspiracy theories going on right now, the other day, I heard that some people out there believe that nuclear bombs are not real. I'm going to have to go down that rabbit hole. I had never heard that before. You know what I'm saying? That one's almost as, like we didn't go to the moon type of stuff. I'm like, whoa. Okay, I'll look into it. I mean, it's not like I've ever seen one. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So I'll have to check. Maybe the explosions I've seen on these history documentaries have only been a different kind of bomb. I don't know.
Funny, although we'll get to that, believe me. Aside from that, it has been astounding in these dark, divisive times to see so many people united with one voice across all demographics. Yeah. Men and women, young and old, fat or thin, the gays, the lesbians, bisexuals. We'll leave the T out of this one. People who love pineapple pizza, people who don't love pineapple pizza, Crips, Bloods, capitalists, communists, Democrats, Republicans, libertarians, and they don't agree with anybody on anything. The Snyder Bros, the Gun Bros, and people who don't even care about Harry Potter have come together in this one instance, and we found something we can all agree on. The casting of Black Snape sucks, and HBO is finding out much sooner than expected the consequences of one bad decision. Now,
it's so weird that they're continuing the virtual signal this far in to every studio's failures. It's amazing. I find it amazing that they're still going. And you had what's his name, Larry Fink, talking about the issue of the woke times on Fox News the other day. So it sounds like they're going to pull back, but it sounds like some people kept moving full speed ahead. Listen, you don't fundamentally change these beloved characters. You just don't do it. It rarely works. You know, like I'm thinking of one particular example. It just came to my head, even though it wasn't a color thing, but it was the character itself. Bumblebee. Bumblebee was changed immensely from what he was in the G1 comics and cartoons, and it worked. It really worked. Made him so he can't talk, and he's badass. He's not a Volkswagen Beetle, like, you know what I'm saying? Of course, they made him one in Bumblebee. You know, they went back and they did that, but still, like, I always liked Bumblebee as a kid, but I never considered him badass. He's badass now. You know what I'm saying? Another one is Heath Ledger's Joker. While he looked a lot like him, he fundamentally wasn't him in several ways. In certain ways he was. But it's like, if you ask someone to tell you the Joker's origin, tell you who he is, why he looks the way he does, how he got that way, what you got from Nolan ain't it. Bane's another one. That's not Bane, but it worked. Both of his, he went a different direction with those characters, even though they fundamentally still looked like them. See, you can change certain characteristics, but it doesn't always work. Sometimes you could just go too far. And one of the things is, who someone fundamentally is. It is part of who you are, being whatever race you are, whatever ethnicity you are, what country you come from. There's nothing wrong with those different things that people I truly identify with, and the particular characters that are made within those confines of those different things. But you're not supposed to change them after the people done fallen in love with them. You don't change Spider-Man to Tarantula Man. That's not who he is. He's Spider-Man. You get it? Okay? You don't cast Jake Gyllenhaal to play Black Panther. Okay? You just don't do that. It doesn't make sense. And then when the source material itself clearly explains how a man looks, and you go totally different, the whole thing with the sallow skin, it's just not the way you would describe a dark-skinned person.
We're seeing the same amount of red flags that Johnny Depp ignored when he started dating Amber Heard. And the problems for HBO's billion-dollar series have only begun with one ill-advised casting choice. It's a tale as old as modern Hollywood, which started between 2000.
And I told you one thing that they keep doing, and there's nothing wrong with them, but it's almost like they lean so heavily into it. One of the things that people have been talking about is they keep giving every person that they change to a black person, they keep giving them dreads. Almost like that makes them more ethnic. You know what I'm saying? And I don't understand what they keep doing with our women. They keep shaving all our black women's head. They keep giving them really short haircuts and making them look really tough and rough, when we have plenty of strong, feminine, beautiful black women out there. Why do you want to masculinize them like that? I don't get that. There's nothing wrong with femininity, correct? Isn't there beauty in femininity? Okay, then.
15 and 16, depending on who you talk to. Giant corporate studio spends hundreds of millions to billions to either buy or maintain the rights of beloved intellectual property, the value of which is in the built-in fan base
flapping
exploit. And while most of the Western franchises have been bled dry, arguably up until very recently, Harry Potter is the most healthy, having generated $8 billion in book sales since 1997. The Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts films have collectively grossed $9.6 billion. Harry Potter merchandise, including toys, clothing, and collectibles, has generated over $7 billion in total lifetime sales. Hogwarts Legacy grossed over $1 billion, and the Harry Potter full cast audio editions over on Audible saw record sales, with Pottermore Limited Publishing posting revenue of $72.6 million in the last 12 months. By the way, how's that boycott working out for you?
How about that?
Of course, announcing a Harry Potter show on HBO was an absolute no-brainer that every Harry Potter fan was looking forward to. It could do what the movies couldn't, dive deeper into the books. The roadmap was there, or some easy
Go really long
all they
this
had
series.
to do was be as faithful with the adaptation as possible and get the cast right. So back to that tale that's as old as modern Hollywood. Of course, the showrunners looked at all of that success and thought they could actually improve on it by completely changing it. And if you're starting to get Rings of Power vibes with HBO's Harry Potter, you're not alone. Let's look at the similarities following the hype after the announcement of both the Rings of Power and Harry Potter. Ultimately, two shows that are going to cost both studios billions. Both shows receive immediate fan backlash over inauthentic casting. Both shows' initial trailers were preceded by preemptive PR campaigns that used the narrative of toxic fandom to shield them from criticism. And shockingly, there is another similarity that, quite frankly, I did not think would happen.
Scarlo's best friend's husband looks like Sauron. I swear to God, he looks like Sauron. You guys see him.
You all know the first official Rings of Power trailer was ratioed into oblivion, and inexplicably and unbelievably, the Harry Potter trailer is about to be
Proceed on your way to oblivion.
Ratioed. At time of recording, the Harry Potter teaser trailer on YouTube is currently sitting at 267,000 likes to 264,000 dislikes.
Damn! But wait!
And just like the initial Rings of Power trailer, HBO's Harry Potter trailer is ratioed worldwide. There's HBO Max Nordic, HBO Max Australia, HBO Max Germany, and HBO Max Asia. And 100% of those ratios come from the casting of Black Snape. And if anyone's under the impression that those ratios come from the people who don't like J.K. Rowling, who's considered controversial for having one common sense view on one particular issue, I don't hate to tell you that there aren't enough of you to make a difference, and all I have to do is refer back to the best-selling books, movies, video games, audiobooks, the billions in merchandise sold, and the crowded theme parks. Incidentally, just a couple of weeks ago at Universal Orlando, yours truly, the Critical Drinker, and my wife all got to ride Hagrid, and it was wonderful.
No more questions. Don't ask any more questions.
Anyway, if you have any doubt where these ratios come from...
I don't like how you worded that. Made me feel uncomfortable.
All you have to do is go to any of the selected channels and look at the comment section. It is now dominated by one subject, Black Snape. And if you don't think HBO is absolutely shitting themselves, so I've got some Paramount stock to sell you. The proof of that will be HBO running some damage control and rolling out a behind-the-scenes documentary 8 months before the series comes out. Normally, these behind-the-scenes are shown during or after a show drops. And unfortunately for HBO, it didn't help. As a matter of fact, it made things worse. Let's go back to the commonalities with the Rings of Power, where producer Lindsay Weber infamously said, "It felt only natural to us that Tolkien's world would reflect what the world actually looks like." While in this special they weren't that direct, they definitely insinuated it with one key word, a word no discerning fan wants to hear from modern Hollywood when they're adapting their favorite story.
To reimagine the Harry Potter canon, to let it breathe. We get to enact all the things that you know are going on in the wings, but you don't see them.
We really wanted to celebrate it as a moment to do things a little bit differently.
So from what I understand, they actually, Harry Potter's dad tormented Snape and hung him by his feet from a tree. So, considering the changes that have been done, many fans are wondering what they're going to do with that. Because you cannot hang this particular person from their feet from a tree, considering the history over here in the United States especially, and it's a history that a lot of the world knows about, without it looking different than what was portrayed in the books. Fundamentally different.
Right, the good old updated for a modern audience was insinuated throughout this special, and when they weren't outright telling us, they were showing us. There seems to be a lot of South Asian representation in Slytherin. What are you trying to say there? So far, the only thing this show has accomplished is becoming a meme factory. And the final and most damning commonality with the Rings of Power, due to the questionable casting choices of a black female dwarf and Don Lemonless, Tolkien fans naturally asked if you were going to change that. What else are you going to change?
I knew he reminded me of somebody. Even though he doesn't really look like him, he reminded me of Don Lemon. I knew he reminded me of somebody.
And it turned out to be everything when showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay decided just to create their own story and call it Tolkien. The exact quote from Patrick McKay was, "Can we come up with the novel Tolkien never wrote?"
Go back to the book, go back to the book, go back to the book.
And why would it be any different with HBO's Harry Potter? The show head of HBO said would be a faithful adaptation, which was immediately proven to be an outright lie just with the casting that we will get to, but as suspected, that wasn't the only thing they were going to change. We've heard they're going to be adding scenes like Nicholas Flamel meeting Dumbledore and seeing Draco Malfoy's home life and teachers in their private rooms and maybe adding parallel stories, which sounds like a recipe for disaster considering everything we've seen from Hollywood in the last decade, particularly when you combine it with that word reimagined.
To reimagine the Harry Potter canon.
For example, in the behind-the-scenes special, they talk about the nature of magic, something J.K. Rowling has said nobody knows where it comes from. But in the show, it's going to be rooted in naturalism.
There's this kind of inherent desire to be rooted in naturalism, also in this idea at the core of Harry Potter nature is the root of magic.
Aside from the fact that naturalism is the polar opposite of supernaturalism, it sounds like they're trying to ground this, which is one of my biggest concerns. One of the best things about Harry Potter is its sense of wonder. But according to HBO, who said they were going to do a faithful adaptation, now they're going to do things a bit differently.
We really wanted to celebrate it as a moment to do things a little bit differently.
In isolation, that statement might seem innocuous. Unfortunately, we're not in isolation, and we've seen this all before. So if they're willing to drastically change the cast, explain magic when J.K. Rowling never felt the need to, add things that weren't in the book that are completely unnecessary, are they going to start changing the characters? And I think the answer is yes. This is purely anecdotal, but according to HBO casting director Lucy Bevan,
her superpower is her emotional intelligence. She's got main character energy.
I think to a lot of Harry Potter fans, that's another giant red flag. For one, Hermione is book smart, but not exactly emotionally intelligent for much of the book. At times, she's a complete spaz and socially awkward, but I think the biggest concern is that main character energy. One of the biggest complaints from fans about the Harry Potter films was Hermione was frequently given Ron's moments and lines from the books. Do I think that they're going to make her the main character over Harry Potter? No. Do I think they're going to amp her up more than they need to? I think that is a great possibility. This reminds me of a famous John Ronald Reuel Tolkien quote that...
Well, that's one of the things that people are also concerned about. It's the whole bait and switch. It's been going on. It's in particular maybe a guy character that is the star of the show, and then somehow they find a way to make a side female character or his wife or whoever like the center point of the show, and that has been pissing people off. They've done it with movies too, so people are afraid of the bait and switch with that.
Is even more applicable today than when he said it. Canons of narrative art in any medium cannot be wholly different, and the failure of poor films is often precisely an exaggeration and in the intrusion of unwarranted matter owing to not perceiving where the core of the original lies. And this brings us back to Black Snape and that inexplicable occurrence we had over the past weekend. Saturday Night Live not only made a skit that was funny, they made one that was smart.
We got this new kid, his name Harry Potter, and he's racist as hell. Yes, Harry Potter, or the proud boy who lived, spent the whole year telling everybody that the school's only black teacher was secretly evil. So somebody stole something, and the number one suspect is Black Snape.
Uh-oh.
That's racist.
Uh-oh.
As many of us have already pointed out, the race swapping
See how they write that.
of the character of Snape fundamentally and thematically changes the story, including when the Philosopher's Stone is stolen. Our protagonist, the little white kid, suspects the one black teacher. So you make our protagonist look like a racist, you make his parents look like they're racist, and let's have the added bonus of Snape being possibly beaten and abandoned by his father. This might be one of the most famous cases of painting yourself into an identity politics corner. This begs the question, are they going to soften the character of Snape like they did in the movies? Yes, by the end, ultimately we find out that Snape was one of the bravest characters in the book, but he was also a brave asshole who never missed an opportunity to be cruel to the kids, particularly Harry. Or are they going to soften the kids or Harry's attitude towards Snape? And if you start going this far off the book, you're just in the realm of fan fiction, which some might argue is already happening. This reminds me of a quote from another author who's having his own issues with an HBO show, George R. R. Martin, who famously isn't even talking
he looks
to
like a character in a movie.
Dragon due to his changes from
not in a bad way.
Needs to be
He looks like he knows something.
Simply a license to do anything you like, Smaugen.
What happened? What happened?
Showrunner Ryan Condell of House of the Dragon due to his changes from the books. Fantasy needs to be grounded. It is not simply a license to do anything you like, Smaugen.
Oh, come. I know nothing's wrong with my. No, nothing literally is wrong with my internet. What the hell is going? All right, so I'm gonna have to pause this. All right, I'm gonna have to.
happening, because I highly doubt Casey Bloys over at HBO or anybody involved in the show expected to get clowned on Saturday Night Live a week after their first trailer released. And good for SNL, but I have a question. Where the hell have you been? Woke and intersectional content, because I can't really call it storytelling, is some of the lowest hanging comedy fruit that's ever existed. To give them credit, they did do a Black Ariel skit that sucked, and they did do a Black Valerian skit, which was great, thanks to Dave Chappelle, but those were few and far between. But you didn't think
I didn't know he did that.
Forgive me, this is going to sound like a top 10 worst race swaps video from yours truly. Minnie Kaling's self-insert South Asian Velma, Yara Shahidi's Black Tinkerbell from Peter and Wendy, Billy Porter as the fairy godmother from Amazon Cinderella. I don't think anyone will forget Rachel Zegler as Snow White, a character who was literally described as having skin as white as snow.
Very evidently so.
And of course, there's the historical figures: Black Cleopatra, Black Anne Boleyn, Black Edward VI, who is also gay and disabled. Netflix turned the historical Norwegian ruler Jarl Haken into a black female Viking, and a dishonorable mention here, Cynthia Erivo playing Jesus Christ. I mean, let's be real, you guys passed up on some comedy gold, but I know a lot of YouTubers who didn't. But if this was a top 10 list, the number one with a bullet would be Black Snape.
They have done a brilliant job of selecting this extraordinary ensemble.
You sure about that? You sure about that? And this will go down as one of the dumbest decisions in the history of Hollywood, because absolutely no one on earth would have cared if you cast Snape accurately. And who's behind this decision? An exorbitant amount of female executives trying to comply with the DEI requirements penned by an exorbitant amount of female HR executives. Sure, the one thing we do know beyond a shadow of a doubt is it wasn't a decision based on merit. Do I think HBO's Harry Potter is going to be as bad as The Rings of Power? I don't think that's possible, but I've been wrong before. Do I think it has a potential to be good despite the casting of Black Snape? Sure, because the rest of the cast looks great, and after watching the behind the scenes, the craftsmanship in the sets look brilliant. I'm just not sure you're going to be able to see it, because based on the trailer, it looks like the series is shot by the director of photography of Game of Thrones The Long Night, and I have no doubt the first season will be a huge success. But as David Ellison takes over Warner Brothers, he's always going to be wondering what could have been because of the casting of Black Snape. This is your chance to be the hero of this story, David Ellison. Now that you've canceled Starfleet Academy and will inevitably fire Alex Kurtzman, once you take over Warner Brothers, recast Snape.
Yeah, they have some type of interdimensional portal type of thing happen or something.
Thank you for listening.
All right, Nerdrotic. Good job, pal. Get over and subscribe to Nerd Rock. Tell them Tyrone Magnus sent you. You know what? This is a point that I don't hear too many people talk about, but I do see from time to time. Especially when it comes to Marvel. It's like Marvel has plenty of original black superheroes. So why don't you just introduce them? Why do you keep changing people? And it's not just the black ones, but specifically when I've seen, our people arguing over changing people's races, it was like, like just plenty of original black characters that they're not using, but they keep changing these other characters. Why are they doing that? Just like there's plenty of original female characters. Why do they keep doing that? Makes no sense. 10 million subscribers. Woo.